What's cooking, Juventus fans? Welcome back to your old lady's favorite YouTube channel. Tevez came back to Juventus. He's in Turin, and he had some comments he needed to share about his time with the Bianconeri. After that, though, we have Nonmollo, who once again dropped some bombshells when it comes to the Mercato with Juventus, some of the different alternative little strategies that they're going about. We'll talk about that. And then Max Allegri previews Calgliari. Stick with us. We'll fill you in. Ciao ragazzi, welcome back to the Bianconeri Zone. My name is Justin Sofro. Today it's Friday, April 8th, 2022, and of course I've got your latest rundown of all things Juventus, all the news that you care about each and every day. Hopefully it's quickly as possible, but this one will be a doozy. We've got a lot of graphics and a lot to get through, so without further ado, no. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and hit that bell icon to stay notified for all of our latest videos. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. So the very first one up is Tevez in his comments that he's back with Juventus TV, talking about his time at Juve, and then he says, Juve in one word, barrio, a neighborhood. Because when you come to Juve, you think you are coming to a club that is not in the neighborhood. I expected a totally different club from what I imagined. Instead, I discovered that this is a big club, but a barrio club. It's the neighborhood in its blood. I immediately identified with the fans' attachment to it. Just talking about that deep reverence for the club and how important it is, and how when you hear your family, that's an Applebee's reference. Shouldn't be making that right now. Anyway, he continues on to say, I left a piece of my heart here. It's a feeling that's hard to explain. Beautiful. Wearing the Juve shirt was a great feeling for me, especially Del Piato's number 10. During the first game, Conte told me the first ball you touch, go with all your strength, and because you'll get the whole stadium up, there was an incredible atmosphere. And then he goes on to say that the love of the Juve fans was what I was missing before the transfer. In Turin, I was reborn. That's why I said I came home. They remained in my heart. They supported me from my first moment. My best goal, it's difficult because as I've said, I've always played with my heart at Juve. One of the most important one was the one against Borussia Dortmund, of course, if you remember, or the one against Parma. My dad at the stadium, who has always been my first fan. So just kind of interesting, nice little appetizer to get before we dive into these big Mercato pieces, just to hear about Tevez, reminisce a little bit about his time at Juventus, appreciate for all that he did during his time here, as well as just enjoying his time his time there. All right, let's continue on. We're going to get into the news that you all are, not that you didn't care about that, but the news that you guys probably are more clamoring to get when it comes to Mercato stuff, all right? So the very first one up is talking about Fagioli, which is basically his agent was saying, what about his future? Well, we'll talk about it when the time comes. This continues to be an important year for his maturation. A young player must play with continuity. If he can't find space in his team of origin, say Juve, he must make his way elsewhere. And that's kind of where we are right now when it comes to Fagioli. It seems, unless things are really begin to change for him, we talked about the other day how potentially it would be him or Ravella. I've started to get the feeling that Fagioli is not in the long-term picture for Juventus, for the club. I may be wrong. I may be reading the tea leaves incorrectly, but that's what I'm reading right now. Is it seems like Fagioli seems to be on the outside looking in, and it also seems to be maybe this belief with the club that maybe he doesn't have it. Maybe he's not as talented as people make it out. I don't know that to be true, and I'm not saying that the kid isn't. I'm just saying that's the feeling that we get from some of the people involved there. We'll see what happens with Fagioli. I wish him the best. Want him to be successful in his career, hopefully at the highest level as an Italian. Hopefully, potentially with Juventus, if the sports gods will it, right? All right, let's continue on. Then Romeo Guaresti had some comments about the Mercato strategy, saying that the market summit at Catanassa in the last few days, in point of view of the next season, the priorities they've laid out are a left back, a midfielder who can score goals, and the profile different in terms of characteristics that will have to take Dybala's place. So definitely talk about the different players that could come in. Obviously, I know if you've been on this channel, the commenters, we know a left back's important. Obviously, they're going to go for a midfield. Midfield's been needing to be revamped forever. And then when you go, you have to find who could replace Paulo Dybala. Who could be that guy? Well, Romeo Agresti, it appears that the name top of the list is this one, rumored from Carnevale and Sassuolo. Carnevale, I guess speaking with Gazzetta dello Sport, was asked about Raspadori going to Juventus. Is it a possibility? And he basically said it can be done. He's ideal for them to play behind the striker. I'm waiting for them. So it's so funny. I talked about this a little bit earlier this week of my feelings of the attitude from Carnevale has changed. It's been a complete role reversal compared to the guy we got last summer, and the talks about Locatelli and the bullish attitude and nature of which he went about the Juventus offers and the Juventus trying to get him. Now you have a Carnevale who's kind of just like bending the knee, saying to Juventus, I would love to do business with Juventus. I'd love Arriva Bene, Cherubini, whoever it is, we will get a deal done. Now he's like opening the door to Juve. So we'll see. I don't know what happened and what changed that. There were rumors out there about him trying to like maybe be a part of Juventus or something like that. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. That's just me speculating, but it's interesting, and I don't mind seeing it right now. All right, let's continue on, though. We have more Raspadori, but this is where we get into the Paulo Nonmollo bombshells, I guess. It's kind of like him dropping. The reason I call them bombshells, they're not crazy, they're not outlandish, but the reason I say it is like compared to most of the sources that you get news from, obviously you get the news from a source like us, which is, we communicate that to you, but you get it from the actual, the sources. Paulo Nonmollo is a source, right? So the way he lays it out is more, I just view it much more in depth. You don't just get these blanket little pieces of it could happen. There's a lot of those conversations that you get. It's not to be ruled out. Raspadori is not to be ruled out. Fagioli is not to be ruled out. Something like that. Just blanket little nothings kind of thing. With him, you get more insight and in-depth information when you talk about a topic, which is, you're speaking my language. So let's get into it. Let's give you that information right now. First up is he's continuing to talk about Raspadori as we were. He said that Raspadori remains a target if and only if Moise Kean leaves, and that's something they're working on. Fagioli's 1-year loan without a buy option could also be discussed included in the discussion if he renews until 2027. Although Sassuolo are very interested in Israel. So as it stands right now, those are the pieces that need to move. So as we know, Moise Kean needs to go. Fagioli potentially could be used in the deal. And that's kind of like why I was talking about the Fagioli situation at Juventus, that maybe it won't end up being a Juve situation. Maybe it'll be another team in City out getting a hold of him. So we'll see. That's how it looks for Raspadori. Let's continue to the next part. The next part, he was talking about Milinkovic-Savic. Makes the whole situation revolving around that and Lotito and everything. He goes on to say that Juve have been talking to Kezman for 2 years. The problem is that it's been 2 years since he sat down with Lotito. So what acceleration, step forwards, getting closer to Juve are we talking about if no one has directly sat down with Lotito? Until then, it's cinema, because Lotito is now letting PSG, to Leonardo there, and United know that Savic can leave and that he's no longer asking for 100 million. But he's still asking too much. So there's a quick little update. So basically, how he maybe the player might be getting closer and open to going to Juve, but we still don't have anything concrete when it comes to Lotito, because Lotito isn't even talking to Savic's agent right now. So that's where we sit with that. He continues on, though, says that talking to Kezman, offering 4 years plus 1 at 5 million plus 1 million bonuses is the easiest part. So that can get done for Savic. This is because Pogba, according to what I understand, is dragging his feet with all the clubs to which he's proposing himself. Juve's proposal is the one made that remains. So it seems right now that it'd be almost easier to go try to get, Milinkovic-Savic right now instead of getting Pogba in this situation. So we'll see what happens there, but that's what Paulo Nonmollo says. He says right now maybe the option list, it's funny because we talked about, I thought the option list was having Milinkovic-Savic up here wanting him, but the ability to get him being way down here. Instead, it's more of like, it's more midway up there because you still have to go through Lotito. So that's interesting to me. We'll see what happens. Pogba still, of course, in the running. Staying on the Lazio train, let's continue with this one right here, to which Paulo Nonmollo says, in the publicly released, and Lotito confrontation, the name of Archer was mentioned, but he is too expensive for Lazio, so Archer's probably not going to Lazio. Archer, who I repeat, as far as I know, has only been postponed until calmer times in his negotiations with Arsenal. So it looks like more than likely Arsenal, Juventus will come back to the table in the summer. That's the serious talks that will go on, and he will end up becoming a Premier League player there at Arsenal. Also, he says that Rugani may be of interest to Saudi. We know that's been rumored out for years, right? Or his like for Rugani has been rumored for years, but this one's been rumored since he came. There we go, to Lazio. But he says, but maybe of interest, but given that Luis Felipe is going to Betis. So there's that situation. You could potentially see Archer going to Arsenal, Rugani going to Lazio in maybe some kind of deal while bringing Savic in. Next up, he talks about the left-back situation. What's going on there? He says the names are and remain those at the moment for the left-back, Vindal and Udogi. I am not aware of anything about Lodi, if only because the costs have decided to divert elsewhere. So it seems right now Juventus are probably not willing to pay the amount of money to get Lodi to come to Juventus. I like the player. It's unfortunate. But again, I understand it's more expensive than when you're trying to buy an attacker, a midfielder, all that as well. Udogi could be an interesting option. I tend to like him a little bit more, especially when you get an Italian presence, which seems to be what Juventus are trying to do. All right, and then he talks about Rudiger in that situation. We've commented on that multiple times throughout the last few weeks. He says, as I wrote on March 13th, while many were saying Rudiger was a done deal, I was saying he wasn't. I may be wrong, but Rudiger isn't coming. So Paulo Nonmollo was under the belief that Rudiger will not be a Juventus player. So there you have it. Maybe start looking elsewhere if you're Juve. Then he continues on. He goes on to talk about Jorginho now, and he says, I am not aware of any deal with Jorginho. He will only be of interest if and only if the club's fortunes lead to him. I won't say no to a contract termination, or I won't say to a contract termination, but to a low-cost figure. Not beyond that, the real money goes elsewhere. So it looks right now Jorginho is on the back burner, and the options for Juventus to get him right now maybe look more toward the direction of the likes of Pogba, Milinkovic-Savic, which I'm sure plenty of fans would be happy to do that, right? All right, let's continue on, though, to the next bit. Like I said, I know there's a lot here, so I'm trying to get through it as quickly as possible. He goes on to talk about basically the De Ligt situation, saying in the discussions for the renewal of De Ligt, it was reported that a good part of the team would agree to give him the captain's armband next year, ignoring the appearances rule, which I absolutely love this. I would love this change. I understand. I to a point, I get what Allegri was trying to do, but to me, this makes more sense in most sports. It should be who on your team commands the most respect and the most, I don't say love, but respect from your players. Who's the best leader of players? And I think Matthias De Ligt definitely has earned that during his time here, especially when, Chiellini and Bonucci end up moving on. He will be that guy you'll look to. All right, that really does it for when it comes to Paulo Nonmollo and some of the big names and news that he dropped there. Some really interesting pieces there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now we'll get into what Allegri had to say regarding the match, and I'm sure you'll want to stick in for that. He goes in to say now, and he says basically that tomorrow will be a complicated game. Playing a Calgliari is always difficult. I think it will be an ugly game technically. We must be aware of this. And we know that for us, the 3 points are very important. So obviously, saying how important the points are, but definitely I think most of us will agree, we're used to seeing ugly at this point when it comes to the game. He goes on to say that today we'll have our last training session and assess everyone's condition. We'll have to do without Locatelli. Then there will be the suspended Morata and De Sciglio. But we'll have to think about doing our best to bring home the result. And I think against a team like Calgliari, no offense, you should be able to get that done, right? That should not be an issue, even without Morata and De Sciglio. But you're going to have to lean into guys. Dybala's going to have to show up in that match. Vlahovic is going to have to be the Vlahovic you expect. Zakaria, those guys really need to show up in substitution of them. And then without De Sciglio, you have to also look to, of course, Danilo and hopefully like a Luca Pellegrini to really kind of step up. Because you know how we feel about Alexandro. All right. And he goes on to say, compared to Inter, it will be a very different game. Knowing the opponent, their momentum, and the environment, we have to be ready for the type of match that awaits us. The team has trained well, and the conditions are right for a good game. So there you go. We'll put that one. All right. He continues to say, Bonucci is much better. I'll assess whether to play him from the start or to start him from the bench. Our goal is to get into the top four, and tomorrow we need to play a good game and give a good response. I'm fine either way, honestly. You play Chiellini. As long as Chiellini's healthy and good to go and playing alongside Delict, fine. Otherwise, if you play Bonucci, I mean, I don't know if this would be a good game to maybe get some of the rust off because he's been sidelined for so long, but definitely one to really look to see if he gets some playing time there, at least, and especially if he is starting. He goes on to say that the team has performed well so far. Paradoxically, we did not win the 3 best games we have played this year, and we need to work on this and improve. It comes from the serenity and the growth of everyone. Once again, you're hearing the terminology of serenity when it comes to Max Allegri, so you shouldn't be surprised with that. He goes on to say that Rabiot was better in it too. He has a different engine from the others. He's physically fit. He played, oh God, here we go. He played a technically good game against Inter. Sometimes we'll play with 2, sometimes with 3. We'll have to have a good, be good at adapting everyone. That's fine. And maybe he does. Maybe, you know, we talked about that before. Maybe, and I mean, spare me this, but like, what if they move to a, you know, a 2-man midfield, and then does that mean there's a chance that Rabiot stays at Juventus longer term? We'll see. We'll see what happens the rest of the season. I'm not going to put that evil on you, Ricky Bobby, but that's something that is definitely floated out there. All right, he continues to say tomorrow must be the right game for everyone. At this moment, we can't joke. There are 7 games left. We have to be more precise in the offensive phase. At the moment, we are missing goals that make the difference between our position and that of those ahead. So that's one thing that I do agree with for absolute certainty, is that if you're Juventus, you have 7 games left. Just when you play this game, just focus on the attack, because you can't do it for 30 minutes and then quit the rest of the game. You have to keep going. I mean, the whole point of this is Juve is fino alla fine, and right now they've been fino alla 30 minutes. That's what they've been. That is exactly what they've been, and we can't keep doing this. All right. Villarreal. Oh gosh, here we go talking about Villarreal. They played a great game against Bayern. Yeah, here's his out. Here's the out for whatever. Bayern, oh, they played great. Everybody's gonna, you know, oh, Juve shouldn't, you know, it's fine. You see, Villarreal is better than you think. No, I'm not buying that personally. I think Juve should have won that game. I expect that of Juve, right? They played a great game against Bayern. We played 2 good games against them, but they weren't enough to qualify. And in the end, it's who gets through the round that counts. Weston McKennie, though, hopefully he can come back and be available at the end of May, at the beginning of May, when there are still 4 or 5 games to play. So if we have Weston McKennie, that'll be a nice little boost for Juventus there to finish the season, and hopefully finish strong, securing 4th place, right? I do think about what the team is doing this year. Every team gets to the position they deserve. We have to keep improving and having time to work. I expect us to improve between now and the end of the season. I mean, yeah, I would hope so. To be honest, I'd hope so. I sincerely hope it can't get much. Okay, not saying it can't get much worse. What I'm saying is, I sincerely hope they do continue to get better, because right now we need to see some kind of improvement. Because right now I haven't seen. I'm still very, very strict on that. I haven't seen much of a plan throughout the year. All the players I have at my disposal must give their contribution to ensure that Juventus will be among the top 4 at the end of the year. We just need to be focused on what we have to do. That is coach speak. And that is a great example of coach speak, saying a lot of nothing, but saying something, right? Or saying a lot of words, but saying a lot of nothing. All right, then he goes on, we should not be interested in compliments. We should not be satisfied, and there should be no excuses. Here, there must be only victories. Juventus have created a lot, especially in recent months. We haven't been very lucid and not very precise in scoring goals. We need to be more effective in this area from now until the end of the season. Let's concentrate on our goals. Couldn't agree with you more. Keep focused, win the games, finish the season out, and let's focus on next season. That's where we are, right? Okay, then he goes on to say there should be no regrets. No regrets, RAGRETS, right? If you get that reference. Anyway, you have to be realistic. We are 4th because we deserve to be 4th. We had an important opportunity against the Inter, and you laid an egg. And despite playing a good game, okay, that's true. I was about to say, well, you laid an egg. You didn't lay an egg. The referees lost you that game. Let's be honest. He's not going to say it, but they did. We had an opportunity, and despite playing a good game, we didn't take advantage of it. This is the reality. The reality is, honestly, if we're going to be honest, the reality is that you got cheated because you have people that shouldn't be calling games out there calling games and not giving you an equal whistle. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm upset. Yeah, I'm in my feelings about it, but it really did. It put a damper on the season, and it kind of killed any momentum to try to dream or hope, especially given that Milan dropped points that next day. We would have had way more to talk about, way more to be excited about. Anyway, that's the situation as it stands. That's Max Allegri. And then, obviously, all the rumors when it comes to the Mercato that were thrown out there by Paulo Nonmollo. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you agree with the things that Max Allegri said going into this match? Or do you fight him at all on any of it? Let me know on all of that we talked about today. If you haven't already, please hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, hit that bell icon to stay notified for all of our latest videos. If you feel so inclined, make sure you follow Bianconeri Zone on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Bianconeri Zone, and follow me at Justin Sofro. I'll see you guys next time. Forza Juve, Forza Bianconeri.